It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Let's talk about 60s. When I get to this one, I close my eyes because what I hear in the background is the Frank Sinatra song, My Way.
Okay.
Do you know that song?
Oh, yeah, I know that song.
Well, what's cool about that song?
Would you mind, can you sing a few bars of it?
No, I don't sing it, especially like Frank Sinatra. I wish, man, we wouldn't be doing this financial show if I could sing like Frank Sinatra or Michael Bublé. But here's the thing: is if you listen to My Way, he kind of goes through the different stages of his life, and I get kind of chills thinking about that. And remember, I'm mid 40s, so I'm sentimental already. I'm going to be just a sopping mess by the time I'm in my 60s. Is that you are, hopefully, at this point, you're making the transitioning into the life that you built for yourself over the past decades. So I want to kind of give you the financial mistakes that I see 60-year-olds make. The first one is not understanding your relationship with risk. So much of your relationship with risk when you're younger, when you're a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, when you go talk to your first investment person, they give you this risk tolerance questionnaire.
Right.
So you understand risk tolerance. That's trying to figure out how much risk you comfortably can take emotionally before you just make a horrible decision and say, sell, put me on the sidelines. That's what risk tolerance is trying to figure out, is how much capacity you have towards risk. But in that concept of risk tolerance is another version of risk, or type of risk you need to be concerned about, and it's called risk capacity.
Yeah.
Now, risk tolerance is how much you can handle. Risk capacity is how much your age or your time allows you to absorb.
It's how much you should handle.
Because believe me, there are 60 and 70-year-olds that are cowboys that are they were entrepreneurs. They could take on as much risk, and emotionally it's not going to impact them. However, they don't have the time to recover.
That's right.
I mean, if it takes 6 years, 7 years for a downturn for their assets to recover, if they're in their 70s,
that's problematic.
That's probably going to really put a damper on their lifestyle in the future. So you need to understand your relationship with risk and understand that there's two components. There's risk tolerance, but there's also risk capacity. That's why you cannot be taking the same risk in your 60s that you were taking in your 20s. You need to understand that you've got to adjust these things. You've got to lower your asset allocation to what you expect from the portfolio.
But then there also is the other side of that coin too, right, Brian? So how many times do we get this question? Okay, I'm going to start investing, and then when I get to 65, my portfolio is invested, and then what do I do? Do I just cash it out?
Go to cash.
CDs?
Put in CDs.
And that's not the prudent decision either, because if you think about retirement, if you're starting at 65 and we're going to have estimated life expectancy of 87, 95, 100 years old, you need to have a portfolio that can sustain that. And I just don't know that a portfolio of CDs or cash or coffee cans in the backyard is going to do that. So you need to understand really what your correct risk appetite should and could be.
Yeah, so it's not going to be... It's kind of like a Goldilocks. You're not going to go to an extremes. You don't want to be too aggressive, but you don't want to be too conservative, because if you think about inflation, man, it robs you like a bandit in the night. Right. So you be careful. You don't want as we get into higher interest rate environments, it's great that your savings are earning more money, but you want to make sure that, cost of living is not eating away at the principal value of the money. And that's probably a great transition into the next big financial mistake, is not appreciating the size of your enterprise and making and treating it accordingly. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is, it's not uncommon by the time you're in your 60s, I mean, your assets are like a small corporation. If you think about it, I mean, what are corporations? What differentiates a big corporation from like a small business? Is, a small business starts out and it has, just the owner, and he's out there toiling in the fields all by himself, trying to make sure that he's generating business, paying the bills. But by the time that small business turns into a corporation, you got a lot of employees. Uh-huh. You got people that are doing the work you don't want to do anymore. That's right. So the enterprise is completely expanded. But I'm shocked when we talk to 60-year-olds who are so good with their money, but they're so scared, they're so tight about spending money, they will make a $200,000 mistake by meaning they have the wrong asset allocation. They'll make the wrong, or have lots of cash sitting on the sidelines,
losing money to taxes,
so that they don't pay $10,000 in fees. Yeah. I mean, we see that all the time. So give respect to the fact of how big your financial enterprise is. Maybe this is the stage where I'm hoping you don't wait until your 60s, but, I'm hoping you look at this in your 40s, you look at this in your 50s, look at this in your 60s. You will get to a size of your assets that you don't feel comfortable making the decisions anymore. And that's, try to get somebody who will help you, be your teammate, collaborate with you, look over your shoulder and make those right decisions.
But what you do have to make sure of is that team, that person you're partnering with, that teammate that you're getting, you need to make sure you get a good one. Because unfortunately, another big mistake that we see people make in their 60s all the time is they align themselves with the wrong person, maybe sells them a product they don't need.
Now, being sold a product that is very good for the person selling it,
That's right.
not necessarily good for the person that's getting it. Now, I'm going to give you 2 examples. I feel I get nervous when I say this because everybody thinks I'm throwing an entire industry under the bus. And there is that risk, but that's not what I'm saying, because some of these things do have some planning opportunity. It's just I want you to be aware of understanding how everything works and knowing if this really is, you've checked all the boxes to know if these 2 products make sense for you. Because we see it, Bo, when you talk about being sold a product you don't understand, you see a lot of annuities that are sold to people. You see a lot of, there's a reason that you see so many commercials for reverse mortgages. Yeah. And like I said, these products might fit into your sleeve of what you need, but you just be careful if all times, every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, your advisor is always recommending an annuity or an insurance-based product. It might tell you a little bit something, but that doesn't mean that these products are all bad. It just means you just need to make sure that it fits into your portfolio or your basket of how your financial life is run accordingly and correctly. Exactly. So here's the part that I pick on 60-year-olds. I pick on 50-year-olds about this too, but it really felt like this was the time to look at it, was failing to enjoy your financial life you have built.
Yeah.
There are so many horror stories out there of people who have saved, lived like no one else so they could have this life. And we encourage that. I love people to invest for the future, defer gratification. But there does come a point that you kind of, if you're not careful, you can let all of your life go and you leave the money only to your kids.
That's right.
I mean, because you're living too miserly, you're not enjoying the fruit of your labor. And look, if you have trouble spending your money, here's a truth of the matter I can tell you. Your kids and if your kids don't, your grandkids for sure will enjoy spending your money.
That's
because,
right.
I mean, the cycle of wealth is that over 80% of millionaires are actually first generation. Well, how in the world could that stat be true if kids and grandkids weren't spending the money? I mean, that's what happens is it first generation makes it, second generation, third generation, meaning kids and grandkids, go through those assets, and then the cycle repeats itself all over again. So make sure you understand that you've worked hard. Go enjoy some of this money.
And it doesn't necessarily mean you go out and spend it all. You may very well enjoy this money by, lavishing it on other people in the sense of maybe you take the whole family on a big vacation, or you pay for the cruise, or you provide some education assistance for college. There's nothing that says you can't do that, because how wonderful would it be to get to see your loved ones benefit from the fruits of your labor rather than just inherit it and you don't ever get to see it get enjoyed.
So I'll leave it at that because it sounds like we're picking on, go out there. And so that was a delicate walk. And we're actually going to do more content on that in the future.
Sure.
Because it is such a delicate walk, turning from saver to spender. Mm-hmm. But, I do think be generous and actually enjoy your money, your fruit while you're on the, above ground, as they say. So the last thing, and that's kind of a weird segue, but I'll take it, is not making your wishes known. I think a lot of financial mistakes are made is that you just assume it will all work out. Unfortunately, we're only here for a short period of time. Mm-hmm. Nobody's living forever. We can extend the thing, your life expectancy, but at some point we all are making that path, an exit. So make sure your loved ones know, and your medical treatments, any sentimental assets and where you want those to go. Because here's the thing that breaks my heart is that you have a family that is so functional, things go so well, but then maybe there's some assets left and you see siblings, the kids, don't talk anymore because they got in a fight over, and it's not always the money. Sometimes it is the money. Sometimes it's over sentimental stuff
Granddad's
too.
watch or something
because
like that.
People want to own a nugget of that person that's no longer here. So those sentimental things can sometimes be even more valuable and cause more strife than, the $1 million house that you would think would cause more trouble.
Sure.
So make sure your wishes are known. And then, be smart about having those conversations about what should happen. You're not going anywhere for 20 years is our hope, 30 years, 40 years. We want this to be a 3 or 4 decade type growth endeavor, but you just want to go ahead and make sure that you checked all the boxes. The same reason that I have 20-year-olds buying life insurance, same reason I have 30-year-olds buying disability insurance. You don't want to use any of this stuff, but you're at least going through the steps and understanding the value of making good financial decisions. Also, I tell people when you're in your 50s, when you're in your 60s, especially my successful people out there, find a way to share your knowledge with the younger generation. I love seeing people pay it forward not only financially, but also with the skill set that has set you out there to be successful. Because you guys who are out here listening, if you're a 60-year-old listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube channel, you're already so unique. Make sure that somebody is being able to exponentially grow their future because of the knowledge you shared. Because remember, what I started this entire show off with is that wisdom comes from experience. And unfortunately, a lot of that experience and wisdom comes from making mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. You might have made mistakes. Why don't you find somebody to love on with your knowledge and share it? And it's just fulfilling to watch people you train go and be successful as well. So go find somebody to mentor, go find somebody to share that knowledge. I have loved going through these decades, Bo. This has been a lot of fun. It's unique that we break a show into 2 parts, but if you've been with us for all of them, and maybe you just came in on the second part and you missed what should happen for 20 and 30-year-olds, go back and check out that previous part 1 episode of Financial Mistakes by Age Group, because there's so much to learn. And the sooner you figure this stuff out, the sooner you can have that army of dollar bills going beyond common sense and working for you harder than you're working with your back, hands, and brain, and just having the life that you so wanted and planned for, and just being successful. So I'm your host, Brian Preston, with Mr. Bo Hansen. Go to moneyguy.com. You can get all of our resources, all of our shows, all the way back to 2006. We'll talk to you soon.